rebuilding. The catastrophic failure, a new start, physically, mentally, our careers, our businesses. Step back, first step, next step. The driver in me just wants to get it done tomorrow. We'll do this, do that, let's move this, where are we at with this? You build some confidence, build some self-esteem, start to feel better about yourself. The Silverback Blueprint Podcast, a show for men over 40 who focus on getting stronger, staying motivated, building discipline, creating a community, and becoming truly happy. Welcome to episode 190 of the Silverback Blueprint Podcast. Why do diets work? So in this journey where I'm switching over from powerlifting to bodybuilding, the 50-year-old bodybuilding rookie, this is coming out probably near the mid to end of April. As we record this, I'm down 70 pounds. As this comes out, hopefully closer to 80, 85. My goal is to go from 397 pounds, December 15, 2018, to 245 pounds, November 2019. That's 11 months. It's 155 pounds to go from 30+% body fat down to 10% body fat is what I'm after. A very, very ambitious goal, a very strong goal, a goal that needs to be focused on every day, which is great because you get all kinds of results. To drop 70 pounds in 4 months is pretty amazing. The change in my physique has been quite awesome, I guess. And that's just, I don't know how else to say it. I look totally different. I feel totally different. People that haven't seen me in a while are shocked. People that see me every day and every week just, are remarking on how I'm changing before their eyes. And they're asking me what the magic is. What's the diet? What's the plan? What am I doing? So what I want to talk about today is just why do diets work, and talk a bit, some just small overview of some of the main diets that are out there. I'm by no means an expert in these diets, but I am an expert in what I'm doing, the transformation, working with people, and there's certain things that just work, period. It's science, it's math, and you really can't work around it. So the big thing I'll say right off the bat is that a diet works if you follow it. A diet works if it makes sense. A diet works if it's something that you can see yourself doing for a long term. But the fundamental reason why a good diet works is because you're in a slight calorie deficit. It's that simple. You are burning off more calories than you are taking in. It doesn't matter what version of a diet you're doing. It doesn't matter what macros you're focusing on. It only works if you're in a slight caloric deficit. Now, if you're in a slight caloric deficit, your weight loss will happen. It'll be slower and more gradual. If you're in a larger deficit, it will happen more rapidly. I am in an aggressive calorie deficit. However, I still eat close to 2,000 calories a day, but it is a large deficit nonetheless based on my size and my overall muscle mass and factors like that. That's why I'm losing weight. It's that simple. Now, there's some things I'm doing with the macros to help maintain muscle mass, to work with other things that work efficiently, some stuff that I've put together that's doing really well with the clients I'm working with. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what diet plan you're following. You need to be in a caloric deficit. So if you need 3,200 calories a day to stay alive, keep everything going, keep the lights on, to handle the physical activity that you have during the day, including working out, and you eat 2,700 calories and you're in a 500 calorie a day deficit, you will lose weight. It doesn't matter if it's all protein, it doesn't matter if it's all carbs, it doesn't matter if it's all fat, what the combinations are. You have to maintain the caloric deficit. Simple. Now, figuring out the right numbers is obviously important to make sure that you're at the right basic and maintenance calorie level for your body type, your age, your body composition, and your activity level. That's really where the rub is. That's really where figuring those things out is super important. And that's what I work on with my clients and myself. That's what's really been the big thing. But when we look at the basic diets that we see out there, the popular ones, we see keto, we see paleo, we see intermittent fasting, the zone. They all work. They all work because inherently within them, you're putting yourself in a caloric deficit. You are burning off more calories throughout the day than you are taking in. You cannot outtrain calories. Meaning, if you're not taking a deficit in your caloric intake, if you're eating 3,200 calories and you need 3,200 calories just to stay the same point, right? Trying to outtrain it by spending an hour a day in a treadmill is going to work for a week, maybe 2, and then it'll stop. It's that simple. You cannot outtrain a bad diet. And that diet is something you need to follow 7 days a week. You can't follow it 2 days. You can't follow it for 5 days and then go off the rails on the weekend and wonder why you gained 3 pounds on Monday. Because it's all about the calories in, the calories out daily, and overall for the week. Keto reduces calories by focusing on removing a whole macro. Right? You're dropping most of your carbs, but you still have to be in a caloric deficit for it to work. Paleo reduces the calories, focusing on nutrient-rich and satiating foods. So you're eating more proteins, more veggies, harder to break down, longer to break down, more filling, so you feel full, right? But you still have to be in a caloric deficit for the work. Intermittent fasting reduces calories by limiting the amount of time during the day in which you eat. But you still have to be in a caloric deficit. And the zone reduces your calories by filling you up with vegetables and low-calorie foods. So basically you're stuffed, but you're stuffed with foods that have low calories. But you still have to be in a caloric deficit for it to work. A diet only works if you're in a daily deficit. A diet only works if it's a way of eating that you can do sustainably, day in, day out. A diet only works if you change the habits that you're doing. None of these diets have beer in it. None of these diets have wine in it. None of these diets have cheesecake in it. They don't. Some have a cheat meal. Some have a refeed day every once in a while. That's once in a blue moon. My rule is you don't get a cheat meal until you've dropped 20 pounds. You don't deserve a cheat meal on the Friday of the first week you started eating better because you haven't done shit. You haven't made any changes. The body isn't really changing yet. Like we talked about in the earlier episode, change, growth is painful. Eating cleaner is painful. There's nothing fried in it. I don't care how good the fat is. If you eat more fats and blows you over for the day for your calories, then it's no good anymore. I don't care what the carb source is. It doesn't fucking matter if it's brown rice or white rice. It really doesn't when it comes to calories. Technically, if you're within your calories and you did it by eating Mars bars, you're still going to lose weight if you're below calories. You're not going to perform very well because it's not a great source of nutrition. You're not going to feel very good because your sugars are going to spike and then drop. But if you still stayed under the calories for the day to be in a deficit, you're going to lose weight. Not necessarily going to build a lot of extra muscle. You're not necessarily going to shape your body. You're not going to have the energy to perform 10 sets of 10 on the squats, but you're still going to lose weight. And at the end of the day, that's the science behind it. People can pretty it up all they want. They can make up all kinds of things. And I hear people, I'm eating keto. Well, that's great. Why aren't you losing weight? Well, because you're not doing it properly. You're not weighing your food. You're not measuring your intake. You're not aware of how many calories you're taking in per day. It doesn't matter what form those calories come in. If you're not weighing and measuring and knowing everything that goes into your mouth, what it matters, what it counts for as far as a protein, carb, or fat, and you don't know the amount of calories total for the day, it's not going to work. So what are you going to do? I tried that, so then it didn't work. It didn't work. You know what? The diet, it wasn't the problem. You were the problem. It was a user interface issue. You didn't apply it properly. You've got to prepare your foods. We talked about, I did a video a little while ago, the difference between food prep and meal prep. People interchange those words all the time, but there's a big difference between the two of them. Food prep is when you cook your proteins and get your carbs ready and have your vegetables already put aside in the fridge in larger containers. Meal prep is when you take them from those containers and place them into the individual meals that you're going to do. The difference is that once you do that, though, you should be measuring your carbs, weighing your proteins, writing things down in your food journal so that you know how much of everything you're taking in. And if the number's too high, you go back and you reduce in certain areas. But if you don't look at it under those details, if you don't sit there and follow that part of all of these diets, it doesn't work. So you're kind of doing it. You feel kind of good about doing it. Maybe you lost weight the first week because it was a change from ice cream, to eating more chicken. But long term, it's not going to work. Even midterm, it's not going to work. At the end of the day, you have to take in less calories than you burn off. I'm not advocating starving. I don't believe in that. These crazy diets that are 800 calories, these Bernstein crazy shit, 800-900 calories a day. Yeah, you're losing a tremendous amount of weight with that, but you're losing a tremendous amount of muscle tissue with it. The way I work with my food, with my clients and myself, and even when you look at things like keto, paleo, and intermittent fasting zone, is that they still have a certain amount of calories in there to make sure that you're not wasting away muscle tissue wise as well. You still want to exercise to hold more muscle tissue throughout this whole process. But if you go down to 800-900 calories a day and you lose 40 pounds, I guarantee you half of what you lost was muscle. Then we have all kinds of other metabolic issues. You're slower than you were before. Your shape hasn't changed. You're just like a three-quarter empty helium balloon now. It's all still a balloon, but it's all saggy and wrinkly sitting in the corner crying. We don't want that. We want some performance. So we want to eat well. We want to exercise. We want to be able to get workouts in. But you know what? You are going to be a little hungry at first. Not starving, but hungry, because you are creating a calorie deficit. You are changing the amount of calories you normally get. So your body's used to it. So it's going to crave it a little bit. I can tell when it's 7:30 in the morning and 7:30 at night because my fucking cat wants to be fed, because those are the 2 times a day we feed the cat. So it expects to be fed at 7:30. If we changed it, it would fuck up the cat. The cat would be meowing, scratching, wondering what's going on because he's not used to it. But over time, if we change his feeding times, the cat would get used to it. Same with our bodies. You got to get a little used to being a little bit hungry at first. But that's why you have to have your meals ready, so that when you are time to eat, the meal is ready to go and it's the right amount of food. It's within your caloric guidelines, it's within your macros, whatever you're following. Because once you eat that meal, you're going to be full again. But if you get to the point where you're that hungry and you haven't got that meal ready, then you're going to eat the wrong thing. And then you don't know what you're eating or how much you're eating. So the calories quickly add up and go out the window. I did a thing, I think, about 5 weeks in where I went out as Valentine's Day. So it'd be about 7 weeks in. And we went to a restaurant for dinner. My first restaurant meal since I started doing it. And I ordered 2 chicken breasts, I ordered a cup of rice, and I ordered just sauteed vegetables. Perfect, clean, awesome. For 7 weeks, every day I was losing weight. I ate this meal, physically it was the right size, tasted great. Next day I gained 1.5 pounds. Why? Because the way that food is prepared. The sodiums, the nitrates, the things they put in foods to make them even tastier, cause water retention, different things like that. So even though on the surface I was eating clean, I was eating the right thing, it still had an adverse effect on my body. The day after, I was all gone plus some, because I went right back to the way I was supposed to eat. But that one meal, it was one meal out of my 4 meals. It was within the guidelines of what I normally eat, but it wasn't prepared by me. It wasn't prepared the way my food is normally prepared. It had things in it that's not normally present in my food. So it had an effect on the weigh-in. I weigh in every day to hold myself accountable. Some people, that would drive me crazy. No, it wouldn't. What it's going to do, though, is remind you every day that you got to fucking follow this shit every day. And you don't like that. It's uncomfortable. It's painful. But it shows you that every day you have to eat the way you're supposed to eat if you're following something. But it only works if you're in a calorie deficit. I don't care what anybody else says. Doesn't matter. That's the only way it works. Find a diet plan that you can live with. I like eating these foods. I can see myself eating these foods going forward. Great. But within that diet plan, you have to figure out how much of these foods you get to eat. What does that look like? What does that measure out? How do I do that so I do it consistently? And if you do that and you're in that caloric deficit, yes, you can lose weight eating bacon. The problem with bacon is a lot of fat. Those calories from fat add up really, really quick. So that means you're going to have to really keep an eye on your calories. And if you eat more bacon, you're going to have to eat less of something else. If your target is 2,100 calories a day, you got to hit that 2,100 calories a day. If you go over it, it affects your weight loss. So you need to know what your target is. You need to know what what your base is. You need to know what a deficit would be. You need to know what that is and how you make that up in your food. So you have to take control of what you eat. Like I said, my 4 rules. You get up in the morning, you go to the bathroom, you void, you weigh in, you prepare your 3 meals for the day. 90% of the results are going to come from those very first 4 steps in your day. It's that simple. That's all I have to say on that for now, guys. Head on over to iTunes, leave us a 5-star review. Head on over to hostilegear.com. Use the code word Silverback to get yourself 20% off on a Why Do Diets Work hoodie. And as always, work hard, motherfuckers, and I'll talk to you guys later.